you ever found a $20 bill on the floor? What did you do with it? Today we're going to continue our conversation with Joseph's story about what to do when you don't know what to do. So last we left off, if Joseph was left and sold into slavery by his brothers because of all the things he had done to him, and the way that he had been treated and everything that he had said about them and his dreams and whatnot. And so it ended up him being sold into slavery. And so today we're going to pick up there in this story. You see, because Joseph not only gets sold into slavery, we have a verse that kind of transitions us into what the conversation is for today, where it says that God was with Joseph. That's big and important. Because as soon as he's sold into slavery, we see some of the ways that this looks in Joseph's life. For example, he wasn't sold just to be any slave. He's actually sold to the house of Potiphar, which is one of Pharaoh's big right-hand man. And so it's a very important place for Joseph to be. You see, because Pharaoh wasn't just what we would think of today as any kind of ruler. No, he was a president, dictator, leader, everything, king, and everything all wrapped up in one. His word was a command. It stood just as it was said, and everything that he said was done. And so for Joseph to end up in the house of someone with such power, it was interesting. It was really different. He didn't have the same life of other slaves. And so he ends up in this moment, in this place, where he is being everything that he needs to be at this moment. And Potiphar is really glad to have Joseph because Joseph is doing such a great job in everything that he does. Joseph is doing far and beyond what probably was expected of him. He is doing such a great job that Potiphar really trusts him and cares for him and leaves him in charge of basically everything that he has. And it's this interesting moment where you see Joseph doing the right thing and being rewarded for it even as he was a slave. And so it comes to this one point in the story where the story tells us that Potiphar's wife comes to Joseph and asks something really interesting. And the reason it's interesting is because being a slave to Potiphar meant that not only he had to do everything that Potiphar asked him to do, but also what his wife asked him to do. Let me just read what it says. Now Joseph was well built and handsome. And after a while, his master's wife took notice of Joseph and said, "Come to bed with me." And so Potiphar's wife takes notice of him and asks something really random of him. She says, "Come to bed with me." And that's a big moment where Joseph has to make this decision. Is he going to do that, which as a slave, he should listen to his master, but as Potiphar's really entrusted person, he has to make a different decision. And so let's see what he does. But refused. "With me in charge," he told her, "my master does not concern himself in anything in the house. Everything he has entrusted to my care. No one is greater in this house than I am. My master has withheld nothing from me except you, because you are his wife. How then could I do such a wicked thing and sin against God?" And though she spoke to Joseph day after day, he refused to go to bed with her or even be with her. So Joseph makes this great decision. He's not thinking about what he should do at the moment. He's thinking about what should be the right thing for him to do. And he makes the decision out of several things, out of several factors. Number one being that his master trusted him so much. He had trusted him with everything. He really trusted him with everything that he had. There was no way that he was going to go against his master. But then he says something else. He says, "There's no way that I would sin against God." And this is big and important because he is now realizing, acknowledging, and recognizing that he is where he is and he is trusted the way he is, not because of anything that he's doing, but because God was with him. Because very easily he could have ended up in any other slave house and would have been in a completely different situation. And so now he knows that God is the one who has put him there. God is the one that is in control, and he will not let God down in this moment. And so this is a really big, important moment because See, he's not thinking about what is going to benefit me the most, what is going to do me better, like what is the thing that I should do right now. You see, sometimes doing the right thing can be a little bit complicated. And for this moment, Joseph has to make that decision and find what is the right thing to do now. What is the right thing to do today? And for him, it was to not sleep with her, not even be with her. He would avoid her. And you see him, because of that, like, he made the right decision and he does what he needs to do. You see, sometimes in our lives, doing the right thing can be very difficult, because doing the right thing doesn't always come to be the obvious thing that we should do. It isn't always obvious for us to do the right thing. For example, like I said with Joseph's story, one of the right things that he could have done was to listen to his master's wife, because he had to do as he was told. But then also the right thing to do for him was to not listen to his wife, but actually do what was right in the eyes of his master. But then not only that, but the right thing was not just that, but doing what was right in the eyes of God. So there's a lot of factors that came into effect as to what was the right thing for him to do. See, in our lives, sometimes we can end up making the wrong decision, or end up not knowing what the right decision, right thing to do is. Because the right thing can be complicated. It's not always obvious. Sometimes even if we do the right thing, it could cost us something. And so this is kind of where we need to be thinking about not just what is the right thing to do that will benefit us tomorrow or later, but what is the right thing to do now. See, we don't know what the outcome of the story would have been if Joseph would have slept with Potiphar's wife, but we know the outcome of the story because of the decision that he did make. Unfortunately for Joseph, Potiphar's wife decides that she's going to make lies about Joseph and lie and say that he actually did sleep with her without her consent, and then Joseph will get sent to jail. But that's not the end of his story. He did the right thing, and it still costed him something. I know that sometimes when you're with your friends, doing the right things feels like doing whatever your friends are doing, but that's not always going to get you the right results. It might give you some kind of immediate gratification or an immediate moment where you feel like it's right, even though you know you shouldn't be doing such things. And so in this moment, we have to think about not only what is right in the eyes of the person that is asking us to do something, not only in the eyes of those who are in charge, but then also what is right in the eyes of God. So this is the conversation we should be having. What do we do when we don't know what to do? Well, we might not always know what doing the right thing has in store for us. We know that doing the right thing will leave us with less regrets down the road. This is what happened with Joseph. He had the integrity to say no. He had the integrity to do the right thing in that moment, even though the outcome was wrong and he was falsely accused. Doing the right thing, following the moment of integrity, and doing what is right in the eyes of God is always going to be so much better than consequences brought about by making a wrong decision. So I encourage you, when you don't know what to do, look to God.